Where we are standing here is Reservoir Garden Baptist Church, and this is where it all began for the Love Penang Network. In 1999, there were about a group of pastors that came together. It was the turn of the century, the 21st century, and the third millennium, and a group of pastors were wanting to decide on what we can do to bless the community. At the time, the Y2K issue was raging and people were fearful. We believed we wanted to present the hope of the gospel and to bless the community. And so the pastors prayed about it, and we felt that we should do 3 major citywide events in the year 2000. One of the events was to be a prayer conference. The second event was an evangelistic rally. And the third event was to be a charity fundraising. This building that I'm pointing to is one of the indirect results of the fundraising of the LPN. In one of the years, we decided to give the funds raised through the charity walk to 3 schools. One to a Tamil school, to a Chinese school, and to a national type mission school. And MBS was the recipient of a hefty sum of $45,000 raised through the walk. And as a result of that, it was the beginning of a new direction for the school, because prior to that, the school was dilapidated. The classrooms were dirty. The tables were not proper tables, and chairs were rusty. And with the $45,000, they were able to paint up an entire block and to buy new tables and chairs. And Mr. Ko Hong Yin, then coming in as the principal, always point to the event as the turn in the morale of the school. And from then on, the school began to raise more funds for many facilities. And today they have a computer lab, they have a renovated library, which is aircon, and many, many more buildings like the one that we see behind us. We're now walking into the conference room of FJ Center. This is where the vision was hammered out. This is a conference room where the LPN pastors met every month on the second Thursday for a time of great breakfast, great fellowship, praying together, and strategizing for the future. It was in this room that this LPN vision work paper was hammered out. This sacred document, almost like the 95 Theses of Martin Luther, hammered on to the Wittenberg church door. This document changed the direction of LPN from being an event-based organization to a partnership with a focus for the transformation of the city. And the new vision that was forged was a vision for transforming Penang for Christ. One of the first fruits of the new vision for the LPN was the birth of the Charis Hospice. I'm reminded of the determination of each of the pastors not to duplicate similar ministries in our own church, but to join resources to birth new ministries in the city. Pastor Ko Chin Wan approached us one day with this vision from one of his church members, Dr. Ulu Chan, for a palliative care for terminally ill. The LPN pastors felt that this was one of the things that we need to join together and support and begin. And so we pulled together funds so that we enable Dr. Lu Chan to quit from her job in Mount Miriam Hospital and to come out and start this hospice. Today, the hospice is funded over 80% by well-wishers and donors, and has become a very successful ministry in the city. On Boxing Day 2004, the world saw the unleashing of a force that was rarely ever seen before. A major tsunami generated by an earthquake in Aceh killed over 280,000 in Asia. Penang had its share of the tragedy. Over 50 people died in the island, and amongst them were picnickers on this very beach. An entire Malay village further down the beach was destroyed by the tsunami. Featherspark Baptist Church, under the leadership of Pastor Prem Kumar, swung into action, rendering assistance to the devastated villages. Funds were raised. Church members were challenged to respond physically to help the villagers in the days after the tsunami. Some of the funds were given to the fishermen in other affected spots of the island in Pulau Betung. This natural disaster caused the LPN pastor to consider the matter of rapid response when natural disaster happens. As we look over the city, I wonder what we see. Do we see as Christ sees when He looks over our city? Since 2008, we have had 2 senior pastor planning camp, seeking the Lord's mind as to how we can transform our city, seeing from His eyes. And we've come to this conclusion. We believe that He wants all our members to be discipled and to live as world Christians. We believe He wants us to engage with the city in our workplace, in all the 7 spheres of influence, and to be the salt and light that will transform our society. We believe the Lord wants us to plant many more churches and congregations, especially amongst people groups in our city who do not have a church in their language yet. We believe that the next 10 years is going to be a grassroots movement, and that each one of you will play an important role in the fulfillment of the vision. And there's one more thing we still want you to see, a model for the future. The House of Hope is a ministry that was begun by Cheng Si and her cell group. They were discussing the topic of compassion. And so one of the nights they went to the Komta Concourse to look for the homeless there and to feed them. And one thing led to the next. The ministry was launched in Rifle Range here. This is not a church-driven ministry. This is a ministry that's driven by individuals that have caught a passion for the kingdom of God. And so this is a model of what LPN can begin to see in the next 10 years as we encourage the members to engage with the 7 spheres of influence. As a result of this ministry, people have been coming to the Lord. Every weekend now, there are 5 services that are run by different churches in this place. Will you be involved?